Well, hi, Natalie.
Hello.
I'm so glad you're here.
I know, I feel like this is like a long time coming.
It definitely is.
And it's finally happening.
And I did Hopeaholics I did it like 3 years ago. Or has it even been 3 years you guys have been doing it?
It hasn't, I haven't been on board yet for 3 years.
Okay.
But you definitely probably were 2 years ago.
Yeah, I was one of the first, I think, after you came on.
Yeah, I think so.
Because you had like just moved here.
Okay, then yes, because I'm at 2.5 from being out here.
Okay.
So that makes perfect sense.
Actually, was there a period when you weren't living here and you were going back and
Yeah.
forth all the time? It was during that period.
Oh, it was.
So it was pretty early on.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And I'm just so honored that, and I know we'll get to this, but you haven't done a ton of like personal media lately,
Yeah.
like more in-depth media.
Right.
And so I'm really honored that you wanted to do an interview.
First of all, I have to say, like, I absolutely love you. I mean, you're so gracious, and your patience, especially with me, has been something that I truly appreciate. And
There's like no patience needed.
on my mind, I was like, I need to do her podcast. I want to do her podcast. And then literally life happens and this, that, or the other excuses. And then finally, a couple weeks back, I'm like, oh my God, I need to hit up my girl. Like,
Well,
what in the fuck?
I can appreciate that, but I've had way more runaround from not famous people. So like you're done. You know what I mean? And you know what? Also, I'm glad that you brought that up. This shows that you still work such an active program of recovery. So there's that, right? Like even just what you just said. And also, you were leading a Zoom meeting the first night when we spoke recently. You're like, hey, I got to call you up for this Zoom. Yes. You still lead a Zoom AA meeting with your sponsor.
Yes, it's our Wednesday night. I'm a secretary of that meeting, and it's like my little like sponsorship family. That's where I'm at every Wednesday night. So yeah, I definitely have to diligently, actively work my own personal program where I think I fell into. I think it happens to a lot of individuals that end up working in treatment. I've seen it with just like clients that end up going into like being techs or wanting to get into the field, and then all of a sudden your work becomes your program, and that's never a good thing. So I'm lucky my sponsor, when I first came out here and started talking about possibly joining the podcast and then maybe partnering and going into treatment myself with business aspect, she was like, that's really great, but that has nothing to do with your outside program.
Totally. My sponsor always says the same thing. So she works in treatment too.
Okay.
And I never have, but she's always said the same thing. Like it is such a common trap to have 4 months and you become your silver living house manager, right? Because you've moved to California, and then you become a tech at 9 months and you're on fire for the program. And by 13 months, you're drinking in the sober living.
Totally.
This is like,
Literally, I've seen it.
yeah, me too.
Which is, I understand how that happens.
Yeah, say, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not from here. You're from, where are you from? Where did you
So
grow up?
I'm originally from the Bay Area, so Northern California. I grew up there. I'm the youngest of all boys. I'm the only girl. I'm Mexican Italian, so you can imagine just the fire in that house.
All of this checks out. The youngest of boys, Mexican, all of this checks out.
Yep. I just immediately, as a kid, really wanted to be just like one of the boys. I wanted to be just like one of my brothers. So playing sports, that's what I did. And then
And you're soccer.
soccer was my sport. Yes. I played everything all the way up until like maybe sophomore year of high school. And that's when I really kind of dedicated playing soccer. That was like my main thing. That was really the ultimate dream for me. I wanted to go and play professionally. But then I always had this like, and lately I've been thinking about it too. And I don't know if it's because of like being around treatment or what makes me like go back in time per se. I always had this self-doubt within me, even though like my parents are still married. They're my heroes. They're everything. I mean, my mom came over from Mexico to, have a better life. My dad basically raised himself. His father died of cirrhosis of the liver when he was like 15, came from a broken home, and, they met, and what they've done is like literally the American dream, and then to provide for my brothers and myself something that they did not have. So it didn't come from my parents, that's for sure, the self-doubt.
Dude, that's so weird. So do you think it's an app? Because I have had the exact same thing for a really long time. And I just was talking to a therapist about this last time I was here. I got amazing messaging from my parents. They were like incredibly supportive. I have also always had a ton of doubt. And then I don't know if you can relate to this at all. I also have completely attached my worth to my appearance and my age. Do you have any of that?
So I've attached my worth to my parents, my age, and my accolades.
Where did we get this if it wasn't in the house?
I know. That's what's like so bizarre
By
about
society?
maybe because I would always think like, as long as I'm either getting trophies or doing something like that, especially earlier on with sports, that's where I would find my identity and value. And then anything other than that, it was like, I don't know, I lived a double life, like big time, of just feeling incredibly not worthy, self doubt. And like, it's bizarre because of the messaging wasn't, it's not like I'm in this household where I'm hearing some type of verbal self doubt talk to others. Like, I remember my dad specifically, there was not many times, but one time I told my brother to shut up or vice versa. And it was like really bizarre, but that was one of the words like we could not say to each other.
Us too. With the SU words, we couldn't say something sucked and we couldn't say shut up.
Yeah.
We have the same kind of rules.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. I'd never met anybody else that was like that kind of straight stuff.
Yeah, my dad's my dad is extremely strict. I mean, he's former military and I am the only girl in the house. And like, what also is bizarre is that it was very much like if you said you can't do something, that was another one that you don't say.
Okay.
It's like, I don't know. That's why I think that I was born like straight out the womb as an addict and alcoholic.
And that's kind of where I was going with that. Personal question. You posted a few years ago when you turned 40.
Yeah,
Did you feel funny about posting that?
I did.
I did. Okay. I'm older than you. But when I turned 40, I owned my studio.
Okay.
And I posted it too. And I'd actually always wanted to ask you that because when you posted that you were 40, I remember seeing.
Yeah.
First of all, I was shocked. Everybody in the comments was like, 40 where? and I saw all that and like it's great to hear, of course. But I wondered now for, a year or whatever, if that was challenging or if that was like kind of weird. But you did it anyways.
I did it anyways. I think it's still weird because of we have even myself, we have this weird stigma around age. I don't feel like I'm almost 42. I don't feel my age. And I mean, I have fucking pink hair for Pete's sake. So I didn't know any 40-year-olds that had pink hair when I was a kid.
That's why I still wear crop tops.
Shit, me too.
And I'm kind of like, is there an age
Is
limit on
there?
this? Like, I don't know.
The other day I was talking to a friend and I was like, am I going to be like 50 with pink hair or like some color hair? Like
I say yes.
I don't know. It's one of those things where it is odd because I have not fully digested my age, or maybe I'm also trying to. I think a lot of the things that we think in a society is put on us.
Right.
And what you think is what you believe, or what you believe is what you think, thoughts become things. And so if you think that you're old or you think that you can't do something, then yeah, you're right.
Agree. Yes, I agree. I also wonder if it's the industry because you actually succeeded in the industry. I didn't, but it was my goal. Like I moved to LA at 22 to be an actress.
Sure.
And I remember at like 25, I wasn't SAG yet.
Sure.
You're fucked.
Right.
And I knew that.
Right.
I'm not and so everyone around you is like, Janine, 25, you're so young. And it's like, I get it. I know that's true for you. But like, it's so anyway, like that, the age thing too, I wondered if that plays into it because my parents never said anything about like my appearance, seeming, like my mom didn't, obsess about her appearance.
Sure.
So I totally derailed us, but that
No,
just
but
reminded
that's
me, I've
actually-
always wanted to ask you about that 40-year-old post and the industry.
That's interesting though, because age was something that my parents and I did talk about because I had graduated when I came back in state. So I went away to college. I came back in state to finish college because I just fucked it off at ASU. And I remember not using my degree and I moved to LA to like see what LA was. I had no idea. It's not like I wanted to be an actress or kind of go into that industry, but I definitely was amazed by it and was like enticed to see what LA life was. So I was definitely like a bottle service girl and then auditioning for this, that, or the other during the day. And I remember my dad telling me, just so you know, and I would get like little nuggets. Like I remember I was like an extra on Entourage when Entourage was like huge. Okay. I was an extra and I was like so over the moon that I got this part or like got this gig. It was literally nothing. Like my brother, I was like, oh my God, my thing's coming out. And my brother's like, we didn't see you at all. Cause I literally, if you blinked, like you might have saw my hair.
Listen though, being an extra on Entourage was actually a bit of an achievement. You couldn't just sign up.
No.
For, you had to be like hot.
And it counted towards going for your SAG.
Oh, did you get a SAG voucher for it?
I did.
Okay, well then that is huge. Right, I know that.
Okay.
I never got cast on to be Entourage background. Never know once.
Okay.
You know, they had all like the pool scenes and stuff. I was never. What is it called? Oh, central casting. Yes, the central casting.
So yeah, that was just like, I would get little nuggets of something like that to keep me in the game, or to feel like, oh, maybe something will pop. And I remember my dad telling me, if something doesn't really like hit, by the time you're 28, you should probably think about using your degree.
Right. Yeah.
And lo and behold, at 28, that's when I got WWE.
Yeah. So, okay, jump this way ahead. Soccer, 11th grade, you're focused on all that stuff. When do you start drinking? When does partying start to come into your life?
So honestly, like typical high school kind of get down of, we would have like kegers and stuff like that. But like I said, my dad was like really, really incredibly strict. So I wasn't really able to attend those types of things unless randomly I was able to lie and say that I was going over to like one of my best friend's house. I mean, I have a story. Literally, my best friend lived right down the street. Shout out to Megan and the Harden family. Still friends to this day. It's my longest friendship. We've been friends for, I've known her since I was 4. So what, like 36, 37 years. And there's this huge party going on. And it would happen to be in my like little neighborhood. So we would get this bright idea. And my mom would always let me go to Megan's house because she was friends with Mrs. Harden. It was just like, it was basically your like green light friend. So I say I'm spending the night, go over to Megan's, and we had this bright idea, and I was spending the night that night that we were going to go to the party. And Megan's brother was 2 years older, and so him and all his friends were going to be there. It was going to be like basically the whole high school. We go, and then all of a sudden, one of my girlfriends told her friend that I was going to the party. So it was very much known that if I was going, then usually everything's okay, because everyone knew my parents were very strict. So it's like, oh my gosh, if Natalie Nelson is able to go to this party, then we know that it's okay. Well, that friend ended up calling my mom to ask about it. And my mom was like, what? No, Natalie's not at any party. She's actually down the street at Megan's house. Anyways, long story short, my mom calls Mrs. Harden, and this is no cell phones or anything at that time. Mr. and Mrs. Harden were out at the movies, so my mom couldn't get a hold of me. And all of a sudden, the mom started talking, and then they knew where the party was. My mom and Mrs. Harden rolled to that party and broke that shit up.
Oh my God.
I
was dying.
Oh, no.
I would die.
What I did was crazy. I was in the backyard. I was talking to Josh, Megan's brother, and it was like, oh my God, someone's mom's here, circulated through the like crowd. And Josh was like, I think your mom just rolled in. And I'm like, oh my God. I literally hopped the fucking fence.
I just gotten chills.
Yeah. I hopped the fence and hid in a bush because I was like mortified. And I had just made varsity. I was a freshman. I had just made varsity soccer. So like everybody was there too. And I was just like, this is going to be horrible. So I hid in a bush for like hours. And then I was like, I'm going to run away. Because that was like my best next.
I'm just going to move.
Yeah, I'm out of here.
I cannot ever come back.
So after that whole party kind of dispersed, that's when I finally like, granted up enough courage to walk back home.
What was the punishment?
I literally couldn't do a thing. Nothing. It was literally like soccer, school, and that's about
forever.
It was a good amount of time. I want to say one of my brothers had to fuck up something for the heat to get off of me. Yeah. But even during that, so obviously like soccer was my main like everything, right? And in high school, I had a good amount of friends. Like I wasn't necessarily like the popular girl, like in the popular group, but I was a part of that group. But I was friends with everyone, like the nerds, the people in the band. Like I got along with everyone, and I was very much the girl that got along with the guys too. So it would be, trying to get my girlfriends, little interactions with the guys, and then they would hook up and do their thing. But I really had a hard time in high school too. Like on the outside, everything looked like it was fine, and I was excelling in sports, but I had this sick, like really depressed girl for no particular reason. And God bless my mom, because she's the one that had to like really help figure that out, you know? So she took me to a ton of doctors, and I was diagnosed with ADD and ADHD at a really early age, but my mom didn't want to put me on any medication just because she heard like all these stories and all these things. So I didn't go on medication for ADD in high school, but I struggled. Like I had like suicidal thoughts. I was just not I just didn't do well, and I couldn't get out of bed, and I was just really weird to the outside world. No one would know any of that stuff was going on. And I had a lot of like health issues. I tore my ligaments, and I had like multiple surgeries on my right foot as a early on as a kid. So there's a lot of that going on too. But looking back, I'm just so that's why I'm saying I think I was literally out the womb with this like addict alcoholic in me, you know?
There's like this like melancholy,
Yeah.
and I get that because I share that. And in fact, I'm glad you brought that up on another interview, and it shocked me to hear. You said, my preferred state is in bed, eating, not living life.
Yep.
This was like a few years ago that you said that. Yet that's not what you do. So do not let me forget, when we get to the now, I really want to know though what your tools are for not allowing that side of you to actually take over
For sure.
and take charge, because I think a lot of addicts will relate to that, because I do.
Yeah.
I mean, just like you and I were saying off air, like, and that's also kind of, it surprised me. You feel like there's so much stuff that you're not doing and that it's overwhelming. And of course, from the outside, that's not what that looks like. So when is the first time you drink or get high? Do you remember it?
I want to say I was probably like 15, 16 maybe. My first sip of alcohol was peppermint schnapps in 8th grade behind a tree. And I remember taking the first sip of that, and my chest got all warm, and it was crazy. I was in middle school, and it was like something that I knew that I shouldn't be doing, but I was with one of the girls, and I wanted to be accepted, and she was like one of the cool kind of like bad girls, and I wanted to, like, even looking back at that, I wanted to people please. I want people to like me. I don't want conflict, and I want to be totally a part of the crew. And so she had peppermint schnapps in her backpack, and I took a shot of that, and I literally lit up. Like I felt so warm. Like I think you referenced it when you were on our podcast. It's like this like comforting blanket almost, you know?
Like, I can live life like this.
Yeah.
I can't do it that other way.
Right.
That's how I felt.
Yes.
Because again, I had the depression, and I felt that way when I did cocaine in particular, which I know was your drug use. And so when we get there,
Yeah.
that was my first thought when I did cocaine. I was like, oh,
Yep.
oh, I'm not so sad anymore. Oh my God.
Exactly. Exactly.
So that's when I had my first like real experience with drinking, but I didn't get drunk or anything because we were at school. It was after school was out, but I can't remember exactly what we were doing on campus, but that was my initial like I guess first experience with it, and I loved it, but I didn't really touch it again because we were in middle school. I was in 8th grade. And then once I got to high school, that's when I would sporadically have encounters, and it would be at parties, and that's the first time that I think I've got like probably my first time getting drunk was probably around like 16, maybe 17. And I had a high school boyfriend. And I remember just like, oh, I love this because I'm just so much carefree. I don't care. Like I'm laughing, I'm moving around the crowd just fine. All is well. But even in high school, like there are moments so I made my amends to my high school boyfriend. And he brought up stories that I totally didn't remember, which I'm like, oh my goodness, like what?
Yeah.
And there were times that we had hung out and that I had blacked out and don't recall it whatsoever. And that was early on. I graduated high school at 17. And so at 16 to 17, I had those like interactions with alcohol, but I didn't really think I had a problem quite yet because nothing too extreme was happening because my focus was on sports, and I also had to go home at a curfew.
Right. You had that anchor of soccer.
Completely.
Right.
Yes.
So it didn't really get to take over.
No. And so after I graduated high school, my high school boyfriend, he was a sweetheart. He put up with a lot because he knew he out of everybody, probably as well as my mom, knew that I struggled also. Like there's a darkness in me, and I try, and it's like crazy because on social media, I really try to be a light, but it's also because I'm so consumed with darkness, and it's usually behind closed doors when nobody sees and all the things. And he got to see like kind of that side of me because he was, I was with him for so long. I thought I was going to marry him. We were together toxically for like 7, 8 years. And then So after high school, I tore my ligaments my senior year. So that shattered me because I wanted to get a scholarship to
And your foot?
in my ankle ligaments.
And it ended your soccer?
It didn't end. So I thought that it was, but it kind of ended scholarships because I put on my list that I wanted to go to like a D1. And it kind of ruined that for me. I got little scholarships like to little D3 schools, but and looking back, I'm like, you're an idiot. Why didn't you go? Like, literally, why didn't you go? You know? And I didn't. And I thought that I wanted to. I came back. The doctor said that I wasn't going to be able to play my senior year. I came back and I ended up being one of like the all-time scorers for that year, even though I was told that I wasn't going to be able to play at all. So I hurried up my kind of rehab process, made it back on the field because I really thought like, okay, I'm just going to hang up the cleats. But then I finished out the year, and after I said I wasn't going to go to, the D3 schools and I didn't have any offers to the D1s, I'll just go to the JC by my parents. And obviously that means I'm living still at home. I'm not 17. And my dad was like, you should go try out for the soccer team. And working out, it's always been kind of like my thing too and my outlet. So I went ahead and I tried out, made the team, and then it was great. I had soccer, but I also
Junior college.
This is junior college.
Okay.
Feeling pretty good. Like being a part of a team is always something that I felt like was an anchor of mine looking back, because as soon as that was removed, that's when like everything kind of exploded. And so I played 2 years at the JC, did great. And then I decided that's when I'm hanging up my cleats instead of like trying to pursue going to whether it's a walk-on or getting a ride somewhere.
Why did you decide I'm done?
I was scared to fail. I was scared to not either get a scholarship or scared to have to go and try to prove myself again and I didn't want to disappoint my parents, which that wouldn't be the case. My parents are very much like, my dad is always his biggest thing is always like, you get what you put into something. So go give it your all. And then if the cards don't fall, then they don't fall. At least you don't live with what I end up. One of my biggest regrets is exactly how I played out my soccer whole career, because
Still to this day, with
Still
all the
to this
success
day.
that you had.
to this day, because I think we put so many limitations on ourselves, and with so many things, with a magnitude of stuff that is out in our society, from even working out. I see it with people in the gym or not getting in the gym, reading a book, to little things that we just are like, oh, I can't do that, or that's not for me. Or even if there's a little inkling in you that wants to give it a try, give it a try. You never know if something is great for you unless you try and you fail. And if you don't like it, then that's a whole nother conversation. But to just count yourself out is just you having the lack of courage to try.
Your spirituality now, though, you're a Christian, right?
Yep.
And that's something that you talk
I
about.
always say I'm a follower of Christ just because there's so much craziness.
There's a lot of
without
stigma with the word Christian.
And I'm Mexican Italian, so I was raised Catholic.
Yeah.
First communion, I had a quinceañera, all the things. And I still go to both Catholic and Christian church because my parents go to Catholic church. So that's why I say I'm a follower of Christ, because his way is the truth.
Right. So the reason I ask is, when you look back, though, giving your beliefs now,
Yeah.
do you feel like, okay, even though I didn't follow that, God put me right where he wanted me to be because now I'm in service? Or do you still feel like, no, I really wish I would have tried soccer?
That's a great question. That is a great question. I think that God makes no mistakes, for sure. I think it was a lesson that I had to learn. And I really think also that as much as I was raised, like my parents were so cool with religion growing up, because now, being so much a part of doing the podcast and hearing people and being in the rooms, and there's people that have such ill connotation with religion that I totally understand and I respect and I get. I think that I don't have that is because, so my childhood best friend, she's Mormon. My parents used to let me go to her Mormon church and even be a part of her like women's group at one point. I had Jewish friends going to their bat mitzvahs. We had Muslim friends, and I believe it's a Muslim, they don't eat pork, right?
I think so.
So like I had all of these different kind of like melting pot. And so it was very much a norm. But I don't think growing up that I really heavily understood my own like understanding relationship with God.
Right.
Because even at the time, like I remember praying, and we always, would pray before meals and things of that nature. But my personal relationship wasn't really established. It was more of like, I know that God exists and he's out there, but kind of in a genie sense, or like he's not listening to me.
Right.
You know, like I'm not that important. And so to go back kind of on your question, I definitely think it was a lesson that I had to learn, but it's also, it set me up for everything that I'm doing today. I wouldn't say I don't really have any regrets. I don't want to, that's a horrible word, I guess, to say, but it's a big one for me because I let my negative self-talk win.
Well, so I think there's room for both. That based on what you just said, of course there's room for both. Sure, there's room to say that I'm glad with what happened, but I think actually, and you just said something that I'm learning from, which is that it sounds like it's informing you now. So it's not like, oh, I have this regret around this path that maybe could have happened, but I do have a regret that I didn't follow up on something that I wanted to do.
Right.
And now I'm not going to let that happen again.
Exactly.
So it's like you're learning from that regret. Sure. But you're not saying, oh, I wish I would have done things different and made my life. So, but does that make sense? I feel like there's room for both. There's room to say that I'm really happy with the way that my life turned out, but I do wish that I had taken more of a chance on myself. And as a result, I'm not going to make that same mistake again. I'm going to take chances on myself now.
For sure. And that's why also looking back and having the like self-reflection is so imperative, I think, in personal growth in many aspects. So mine is on a magnitude of levels of things that I have trials and tribulations, but that's also life. You know, that's how you learn and that's how you grow as individuals. And with my soccer little spiel or stint, what really ultimately the lesson that I have learned out of it, because it's kind of to me, it's a sad one, because not only did I not give myself enough credit for attempting a dream, but also by the time that I was ready to give it a go and try it, which is when I transferred back, we'll backtrack because that's when the wheels popped off. But when I transferred back in state to Cal State Fullerton, I yearned for a team, the camaraderie, the locker room, being team captain or having just that structure and that unity, that I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go try to walk on. And I went and I tried out for the team and I made it. And then I went to admissions and my NCAA clock had ran out.
Oh no.
So that's the point, is like, if you have something that is inside of you.
What does that even mean?
I couldn't play.
What's an NCAA clock? What does that mean?
So basically when you get to college, I don't know about rules and everything now because there's so many.
Oh, clock starts that runs 4 years or
right
5
when
years.
You start. Yes, right when you start.
Oh.
And I played at the first year at
the
my junior college. So my clock was running after that.
Okay. Does it give you 5 years or 4?
At that time, I want to say it was 4 because usually you get 5 if you redshirt.
Well, that makes sense. So that you're not like coming back at 28 or 29 or 30.
Now, if you look at, there's a lot of guys that are able to nurse it. So I don't know what the actual rules are now, because there's some guys that are like in college that I'm like, how are you 24? But it's a
that makes sense what you just said.
It's a huge lesson of bet on yourself. Who cares?
Bet on yourself. Bet on yourself.
Bet on yourself. Totally. And like go for it, because at the end of the day, like if I had gone how I really should have. And it's so cute. My dad, because my parents did not push any of us to like, you really should be, go try out for that team or do this. They kind of let us navigate our way. It's one of his biggest things that he wishes that he pushed me to this day. Like we still have conversations about it, which is crazy because as much as it stings me, it stings him too. But that's where it's so mind blowing to me that I had this like lack thereof and self-doubt when it doesn't come from my parents, and it's one of those things that's wild about the disease, because I've had conversations with a very array of people and different backgrounds from where I listen to another individual's upbringing and I'm like, damn, it makes sense that you're an addict, from whether they come from parents of the disease or they were totally abandoned and no parents even around. So you're just fending for yourself, or other abuse, crazy things, trauma happens. And I'm like, damn, I get it. Where then you have me where it's like, my parents are rock stars. They're still together. They're like amazing. And I'm right there with you.
Right.
My pain is just as heavy as yours.
That's why I really believe that it's a genetic thing.
I do too.
You know, I do. And I know that there's debate about
know
that.
there
And
is.
ultimately, it doesn't really matter. But like, that's my belief too, for that exact same reason.
Yeah.
You know,
Because there's no other explanation.
there's no other explanation.
Because if you really like analyze it, the two should not coexist.
Totally. Yeah.
And they do.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what's like mind blowing. You walk into any AA, CA, CMA meeting and it's like you hear the same story regarding the pain and the feeling like left out or feeling like not enough or whatever that may be. And so I had that really, really early on. I mean, I remember it's funny that my hair was like really what put me on the map in WWE because my hair was such an issue when I was growing up. Because the area that I grew up, it was like all what it's not right now, where like, you know, you look at movies, TV, magazines, Instagram, everybody, you see every race, every cult, like every hairstyle around. Me, I was very primarily like white and stick straight amazing hair. I have nappy, coarse, curly hair. It's like the Italian side of my dad. And so I immediately felt different.
Because everybody else had straight hair and you didn't.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it sounds so petty and
No, it
so
doesn't.
bizarre.
No, it doesn't.
And it was
Not
like,
to me.
I remember.
No, it doesn't.
I
very much relate.
I remember being literally like 9 and there was this Christmas party for a company my dad worked for. I had a fit and was crying on the floor because I knew this other little girl was going and she had the best like silky straight hair. And, you know, my mom did my hair in like all these little bows and whatever when I was young. And I remember not wanting to go because I felt ugly and I hated my hair. It was like insane. My quinceañera, and my mom's a hairstylist, by the way, and I would never want her to touch my head. And so that's why I ended up messing with my hair, like color and all this stuff at a really early age, like 14 is when I started to dye it, like a million different colors. And on my quinceañera day, we had did my hair, right, of like what it was going to be. The day of, it fucking just was a disaster. I dipped my head into the sink, started crying, and told my mom to cancel it. And the photographer was ringing the doorbell. Like, that's how traumatic my hair situation was.
So honestly, I completely relate. My hair right now, so I went and got it blown out yesterday for this reason. Because if I don't, it looks like, and I know you look at me and you would think that maybe this is the way it's supposed to grow. This is probably the way it's supposed to. It doesn't. It literally looks like, my audience has heard me say this before, like 4 or 5 guinea pigs have died and I've stapled them to my head. My hair grows out. It is coarse. It is not nice. I used to say that if I had had like a Tymo or a straightener in my 20s, I would have been famous. My hair changed my life for the worse.
No, I literally,
For the worse.
I hated it so much. In 8th grade, I got voted most likely never to wear her hair down because I just slick it up, put it in a bun, and call it a day. Then I want to say, because I had moved back out here, they don't have it anymore. Japanese straightening.
Yeah, the blowouts. Yeah,
yes.
like
But
a Brazilian, but even more
better.
extreme.
Yes. Because now it's like unhealthy and not
Yeah,
good for
you
you.
can get
You could,
cancer.
like, yeah, exactly. Like what? But I
They
remember.
told me that at the time too, and I was like, yeah, I don't care.
No, I went and I got one of those because even before like going to get a blowout or anything, I just looked like a chia pet. It was just, it didn't flatten nice. Like where sometimes I'm like, how does some of these girls when they straight, like your hair looks beautiful.
That's because I
nice.
didn't do it.
Right. Yes, for sure.
I'll show you pictures when we're done.
No, I believe you. Trust me, because people have a hard time. Even hairstylists, when I tell them like my hair, they do not believe me
Oh, it
until
can't be
they're
that
touching
bad.
it, until they're actually doing it. You know, because I'm able to like now maintain it.
Me too.
But when the Japanese straightening came out, I was like, yes, let's do it. And I went, and literally that changed my life. It changed my life because then all of a sudden I actually could have my hair dry and down and straight, and it wasn't like out to here. It was like horrible.
Changed my life.
Yeah.
When I got clean at 35, I discovered blowout bars.
Okay.
And
Yep.
I got a membership to a blowout bar. The same place I went to yesterday, actually. Okay. I got a membership at a blowout bar. It was $128 a month for unlimited, or for 4, at least for 4. And I went every single week until, I don't know, 2 years ago when I bought a Tymo. And it changed my life. Because if they do it,
then I can just kind of go over it throughout the week, which is like what I did today. This is what I'll do tomorrow. And I literally have like, I've been like in the bathroom before, set my toothbrush down and been like, God damn, this changed my life. If I had had this when I was 25, I would have been on Entourage too. You know?
No, I know.
Changed my life. So I
It's-
totally relate.
Yes. So you understand the
I
hair
do.
debacle.
Yeah,
That's why I
yeah.
think God has a sense of humor with me too, because
But
all
now
of a
it's
sudden
what you're famous for.
that's what put me on the map was my red hair initially.
Also, for anyone listening that's younger, for our younger audience, if you hate your hair, you're going to figure it out one day.
Yes. Oh my gosh, for sure. Don't trip.
And they have more options now too. We did
they have
not have. I didn't have a timeout. Would have changed. That's when I stopped doing the blowout too. Is because then I discovered the timeout from TikTok 2 years ago.
What is a Tymo?
It's like a flattening iron, but it's got these little hooks. Like it's hard to explain. It's not a flat iron that you go like this because
Okay.
those I could never work.
Sure.
They don't.
Yeah, I know.
They've been around forever.
Yeah.
They don't work on me.
Yeah.
It's just an iron, and it's got these like it looks like a brush, sort of like a round brush. And it heats up, and if you pull it straight while you go watch all these videos, I can make it look almost like this. Not quite, which is why I got it done yesterday. Because the first 3 times I came here, I tried to do it myself.
Okay.
And some of the videos are just, when I interview Owen,
Okay.
of course, one of the biggest ones I
Totally.
did looks like horsehair.
No.
Yes, it does. And so after that one, I was like, all right, let's just go back to the professionals.
Sure.
Just once a month at least before I go and record.
And then it is nice because then you can maintain it throughout the week.
Throughout the week, I can maintain it. But I'll show you the timeout. And it actually works even on mine.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Then it has to,
Life-changing.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. So if you're struggling out there and you're worried about your hair or whatever, you will figure it out.
you'll figure it out.
for sure. And there's so
Uh-huh.
many tools now
Yeah.
that they did not
Mhm.
have
Yeah.
when we were going through it.
Yeah. That Japanese thing was like $800.
Yeah, it was so
I couldn't
expensive.
afford it when it came out. By the time the Brazilians came out, they were like 300, still a lot.
Yep.
But I did it. But
Yep.
that Japanese one,
Mm-hmm.
that was out of my
That was
price
like
range
that
at
was
the time.
yeah, and I remember there was only like a select few
Uh-huh.
people that can do it. Like you had to.
We would have
be-
been both living in LA at the time. I remember when they
Yeah.
came out.
Yeah, you're right. We had to be. I
We
was
would've been
living
here
in
at the
Orange.
same
I was
time.
living in Orange County at the time, and I got it done in Newport Beach.
Okay. Yeah. We would have been
Mhm.
here at the same time. I
Mhm.
moved here in 2002
Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay, we would have totally been here then at the same time.
because I remember the Entourage background
Okay.
casting. So we definitely were.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I remember the Japanese thing was like $800. And I was like,
it was
fuck, man.
so expensive. I know.
But anyways.
I know. See what I'm saying? Like the hair
No,
trauma.
I totally understand. I really do.
I know, it
totally
sounds-
get it. It sounds insane. I
It
know.
sounds so insane when I say it out loud, but I'm like, you know what though? I felt so different and I felt so like
Ugly.
I
I felt
hated
really
myself. Yeah, I really did. I had this like sick, weird, and that's what's so hard for me to even say those parts of, I guess, my story because it had nothing to do with like my family,
totally.
you know? So
yeah.
I hate that because it's like,
Yeah, me too. I don't want to make them look bad.
no, and it has nothing to do with them. It's just like something in my brain was just like, just not
Yeah.
right.
I put way too much. Put too much value on it, more than because obviously every other girl my age also had insecurities,
For sure.
but they didn't have this like, oh, it's changing my life reaction.
Totally,
like we
and
had.
like devastation, like this like crazy. And I'll never forget too of the Cindy Crawford commercial of her with Pepsi, and she's like, the song, the just one look, and I saw her. Yeah, she's in a white tank top, jean shorts, and like leaning on a car or something, and sipping a Pepsi, and I was just like, I want to look like her. Like she just embodied so much. And I don't want to say it was like sex appeal was there for sure, but just this like beautiful, amazing, just something aura that I wanted. Also, she's like 1,000,000 feet tall, a fucking supermodel. They're like 1% of the population in the world, right? And here I am. That's like what I want.
I felt that way about. Did you watch 90210?
Of course.
I felt that way about Kelly Taylor.
I totally can see that.
I was like, I
For
was
sure.
supposed to be that.
Yep. I can totally see that.
I'm just like I'm like the Temu version of Kelly fucking Taylor.
It's like really crazy because
Like you order Kelly Taylor off of crystalmeth.com and I'm what arrives.
oh my gosh. No, not at all.
Well,
but
trust me, at that time, I was like, yeah, that's what I was supposed to look like. And I'm trying.
to-
That's, you know what I mean?
mhm,
I felt
mhm,
that way.
mhm, mhm.
Mhm.
I mean, 90210, Melrose Place, like those
Yeah,
shows
Heather
were
Locklear. I was like, I'm supposed to be one of these blondes. I don't know why it didn't work out. You know? But then
You
I
are
spent the-
now.
I spent the rest of my
You are
life
now.
trying to become that.
That's what I'm saying. Like anybody listening, like,
Yeah.
we'll figure it out.
Right. So junior college,
Junior college, play 2 years of soccer.
decide to hang it up.
Decided to hang it up, and now I'm going to transfer to ASU. But during those 2 years of soccer, that's when I really started to actually dabble in drinking and started to have like episodes of like blacking out or just like weird shit happening, horrible hangovers, just making like kind of horrible mistakes. But nothing too crazy, except for looking back, yeah, it was crazy. Like, if you cannot control your bodily functions, that ain't good. That is not good. Like, peeing yourself is not good. That is a huge one. There would be so many nights that I would go to bed and I'd wake up and I'm like, how did I pee my bed? Like what? And that's when I also started to drink and drive too. And
Are you one of the people that loved drinking and driving?
I wouldn't say that I loved it. However, you couldn't tell me anything.
I'm sure you've interviewed people on Hopeaholics that was like their favorite thing to do was drink and drive. And I definitely didn't feel that way. I was like, no, I don't like feeling out of control. I'm going to do it. I did it. I got a DUI, but like, I didn't love it. There are people that it was like their thing,
Right.
which has always amazed me.
yeah,
Not
no-
even out of judgment, out of I just don't understand.
Yeah, no, that was definitely not my
Like, oh,
thing.
it's terrifying.
Right. But after I'm like, once something hits my lips, it's like all
Doesn't matter.
logic is out the door. And that was when I had my first experience with cocaine. And that was a dream. That was really when everything, the self-doubt, the whatever insecurities, whatever little inner voice that kept telling me this, that, or the other about myself was completely silenced. And I felt alive and I felt like I want this the rest of my life. I will never forget, I was at a club when I actually did it. It was in a bathroom. It was in a stall. And I actually did it with one of my soccer teammates. And I'm real healthy, and I was like, this is it. Like, this is literally my thing. I love this so much. And I proceeded to go ahead and fall in love with that. And so after that time, I moved to ASU and
After that night, do you start seeking it out and doing it more?
Totally.
Or just oh, you did? Okay.
I do.
What does it start to look like? Like literally like the next day, the day after that?
So it was actually started out real playful. Yeah. It wasn't this like all of a sudden green light and I'm like this hooked up like addict. It was more like, oh my God, that was so much fun. Like I would love to get some more. Let's do
Totally.
it. It wasn't this thing that was like an everyday habit by any means. It was very much so like, oh my gosh, let's get it this weekend. And it was very playful and very fun. So it was like not a thing that I was even remotely worried about. I liked it because I had complete control over all of what I was doing. I didn't have any blackouts. I could drink longer. It kept me in the game. And I liked being able to continue the party for, continued on. So when I was at home and I was still living at my parents', so I couldn't really get balls to the wall, really. And then so when I moved, that's when it was like all bets are off because as soon as I moved and I was
And you went to ASU,
yes,
which is like a party school.
yes,
Right?
mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So I was now 20. I moved. It was first time being away from my parents' house. No curfew. Nobody to have to report to. Is on. Like I had never experienced that. I mean, in high school, my senior year, my curfew got up to 11:18. I would like ask my dad for minutes. Like meanwhile, my friends are out until
2 a.m.
totally with no problem, and I'm over here being like, Dad, can I please stay out till 11:22? Because like those 3 minutes were everything. You know what I mean? So when I left and I was in Arizona, I really went crazy.
Do you remember when you first got there? Was there any inkling in your mind or objective in your mind of like, oh, I need to find some coke now that I'm here?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I was always, as soon as like I had done it for the first time without me really knowing it, but looking back subconsciously, I was always yearning for the dope.
Me too. Yeah.
Like it was just in me where I would find it eventually, or I'd go to a party, or I would be working because I ended up working as a waitress. It would just, and that nightlife is very easy to find it too. And so there'd always be someone to find it, and I'd always end up getting it. And so from there, I never really went to school anymore. My thing was like I partied and I worked at night. And it was like the best job ever because my whole thing was like it was called the library. We were like little librarians, but like we would get on the bar, like Coyote Ugly-ish. So I was like living, and pretending to go to school, like telling my parents everything is fine. But then obviously as soon as the grades come out, it's like everything is not fine. So I was living that kind of double life. And at that time, I think I had 1 DUI, I believe.
Did you get the DUI at home or in Arizona?
I did not have a car in Arizona, so I got it at home. Okay. But I was still struggling like internally, but it was just still like, I think also doing drugs and like alcohol is an antidepressant, by the way. Like it's not good for you. So your come down is going to be super, sad. And I already struggled with depression already. So it just kind of like magnified that when I wasn't doing drugs, and cocaine helped. So that's why I yearned for it more, is because when I would do it, I would all of a sudden feel like I'm a normal human being. So it's like this really unhealthy relationship that I was like starting to try to medicate myself to feel okay and feel good. And so I had gone back to my parents for visiting. I can't remember, it might have been a holiday or anything like that. And this is where the wheels start to really fall off, because we're at a place called JCPenney. Anybody that is familiar with JCPenney? Well, my mom is shopping. She likes to shop there, and she's getting a bunch of stuff. And I don't know why, but I think it's a bright idea. This is the time. And so I started to boost stuff.
Oh shit.
And I'm thinking like there's gonna be no problem. Like my mom's gonna go to the register. They're not gonna think this like kid is with her mom, and like so my mom's getting stuff, checking out, and then all of a sudden like Rambo comes out of like every corner. All these guys swoop up on me, loss prevention, and I'm with my mom and take me in the back. It's just like such a bad scene. And I'm with my mom, and then the only reason they didn't arrest me that day was because of my mom. And that was really tough because I ended up really disappointing and like seeing that. But I think also at that time, my mom was like incredibly worried. Like, this is such abnormal behavior. Like, what is going on? And I tried to talk myself out of it, of course, and manipulate and do all the things. And
what did you steal? Do you remember?
it was like it was like so stupid. I had like a ring on all my fingers. Like it was
Just on.
It was, I want to say it was just like rings. That's what's like sickening. I don't even think I had anything cool. So I'm like, obviously off. So,
well, I don't know if you remember this. My strong arm robbery is from JCPenney. I put a necklace on and I just walked out.
Oh my God.
This is my last
Okay,
charge.
okay.
And I also, Rambo was tackled. This is the mall in Carlsbad. This also wasn't that long ago. I was much older than you doing this shit. I wasn't 19. I was like 35. JCPenney tackled me Rambo style.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah.
So
And then like so crazy. Like I had literally just rings on my finger.
yeah.
And
you
you had
the
a necklace on.
On.
Like,
yeah.
And the amount of guys that came at me, I was like, what is happening? My poor mom. My mom's 4'11", this little lady. So
they don't press charges.
They don't press charges, but I go to the judge, and the judge gave me like 1,000 hours of community service. So I was like stuck in, it was a cancer. Oh my God, I can't remember. I think it was the American Cancer Society. They have a little store. And so I was like stuck steaming clothes for like, no joke, my whole summer. It was really, really crazy. And then the judge also gave me this like wild packet that I had to also complete and fill out. And that was really like the biggest kind of slap on the wrist per se, was having to do the community service. And while everybody else is like having summertime fun, I'm literally like, 8 a.m., going down to steam these clothes in my hometown.
Did you tell anyone?
I want to say I think I only told probably
Megan. Your friend
Megan, and probably maybe my ex-boyfriend at the time, because I had gotten back into town, and then like he was always like my comfort blanket. So like when I would be back with him, I would feel like comforted, But so that's when things were going crazy. I had to transfer back in state. Also, I was like in a relationship out in Arizona. It was just like so silly and dumb and just making really bad choices and not going anywhere. So I had to transfer back in state. My parents gave me an ultimatum of, you're either transferring back in state or you're moving back home. So I have this like, whether it's pride or anything like that, I moved out of my parents' house. So I wasn't gonna move back in with them and not have some type of like, what am I doing? I'm not going to go back to my parents' house and then all of a sudden be like, okay, I'll figure it out then. It's like not happening. So I transferred back in state. I found out Cal State Fullerton was still accepting applications. I got into Cal State Fullerton, but that's when the wheels fell all the way off. So that's when I racked up like multiple DUIs back to back. I went to my first DUI. So my first DUI was in California, but it wasn't in my hometown. It was in Southern California. And I go to school 10 or whatever the thing is, you know, you go to your classes. And I remember the teacher literally saying, not for all of you, but for some of you that have a serious problem, you will get your second one within 6 months. And I was like, I was just like ridiculous, you know? And I was like, yeah, right. I got mine within 6 weeks.
Wow.
So, and there was a lot of like lying going on because I was literally at this point, like, so doing it every night, every day.
Drinking and doing cocaine.
Mm-hmm. And then
How'd you pay for it?
I was I was a waitress.
You were working there too.
Mm-hmm,
Okay.
mm-hmm. So that's just kind of how the cookie started to crumble. And I was like going to class and I smelled like booze. I remember a guy that I was, he was just in my class. He was a friend. He's like, damn, you smell so bad. And finally, and then I was like, my roommate at the time too, there's just like so many issues that would happen, you know, blacking out, getting in fights, just madness where it's like, what are we doing? This isn't even fun. And so that like playful funness that I fell in love with was out the door. And I was literally, and I wanted to kill myself, but I wouldn't do that because one, I'm way too scared, and two, I wouldn't want to put that burden and hurt on my family because, you know, they're everything. So I end up having to, I finished school. I don't know how.
You graduate
I
college?
graduate college.
Okay.
I know, crazy, right? But at that time I had no money, so I couldn't pay all of these fines from all of my bad decisions and getting arrested and all the stuff that comes with it. And the judge told me, he said, okay, well, you know what I'll do for you? Because even an ankle monitor costs money to be,
Right.
you know, you have
Yeah,
to
you have to pay for it.
You do.
Yeah. Okay.
And so the judge said, you know, after you graduate, turn yourself into county jail. And I was like, okay. And so after I graduated, that's when like
You go to jail? You went to jail?
for 3 months.
For 3 months?
Yeah.
Where? Downtown No. In
Yeah,
Fullerton?
in Orange County,
Oh my gosh.
550 North Flower.
How was your jail experience for 90 days?
It actually, I ended up only staying in the county right there for maybe like 2 weeks. And then I ended up going over to, I don't think that it exists anymore. I want to say it's like the farm, or I can't remember what it's called, but it's like kind of
Like a dorm.
kind of like a camp where like you're not necessarily like in a cell. I mean, you're with guards and like you can't go out and all the things, and that you know, but you're in little bunk beds amongst everybody. And
Were you scared to go to jail?
yeah, I was scared. I mean, I was scared of so many things where it's like, oh my God, my life is literally coming up to, it's over. My parents are going to be so upset. And at that time, this is why, like, eventually at some point in time, you know, I want my oldest brother to tell his story because it's pretty phenomenal. And my mom too, my parents, because at that time when I had to check myself or, you know, turn myself in, my oldest brother was in prison.
Oh.
What I think about all the time, and I got sober because of my oldest brother, and now he's killing life. He has multiple businesses, multiple houses. Like, talk about a redemption story times a million. And he truly saved my life because I looked up to him. So when he got out, he actually came down here and lived with me, and that's how I ended up getting sober.
Oh, wow.
But-
I just got chills. Okay.
But what I think about is like how strong my parents were during that time, because imagine having your oldest and then your youngest
Also in jail, both incarcerated.
Incarcerated.
2 children.
2 children, right? You know what I mean? Like, where it's very easy for humans to like blame one another, get in fights or however, talking about, well, you did this or you did that. My parents were such a solid unit during that time. I mean, I'm sure they had their like had it out at home, but
But they worked through it, obviously, somehow.
totally. And
Yeah.
like the strength of them is just something that I'm just like,
Keep going. I'm just going to check out with you.
yeah, it's something that I'm just like, wow, you know, it's pretty impressive.
No, it is very impressive.
And my mom wrote me every day. So I ended up getting mail every day, and it was always just like a little Bible verse, you know? It was like something so sweet, but
We have a lot in common.
we
My-
do.
And I didn't know. My dad wrote me once in jail, and it was a Bible verse. Same. He only did it once. He didn't do it every day. But anyways.
And
keep
maybe
going.
hers wasn't every single day, but it felt enough to actually
Yeah.
receive mail. And I really was so
Well,
thankful to receive mail because it does make it's lonely up
it's
in
just
there.
a little folded letter on the cot or
That's it.
whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Although I remember getting my dad and I are very, very, very close. I love him. He's like my favorite person ever. And I stumbled up to my cot because I'm on Librium. I'm kicking fucking heroin. It's a nightmare, right? So I walk up and I'm like, oh, I have a letter. And I remember opening it and I was like, oh, it's from my dad because I saw his name first. And then I read it and it was like Neener, was what he calls me. And he's like, I love you all, always love you, but you are so far from how I raised you. You are so far from God. I don't know how you get back, but you need to get back. You need to get right with God. It was all God, And then there was a
Wow.
Bible verse. I don't remember which one. And I remember being like, oh, man. And I just like put it back down and lay it down. And then when I got arrested the next time, I called my mom and I was like, so this time's going to be a good one. This is going to be like 6 months. It wasn't, but it was the JCPenney arrest. It says robbery. They're talking about strike. Listen, if dad writes me, tell him I would love for him to write me. But if he could just be like a little bit nicer this time, that would be awesome. And he was actually entirely nice, obviously. Everything. But anyways, so.
No, totally.
So-
but like you saying that, the irony into it, right? Because it's like you're getting arrested and having to do time, and you're like,
be
can
nice
you
to me. I'll go to jail. You better be nice to me.
right,
What the
right,
fuck?
for
Yeah.
wearing a necklace that I didn't pay for.
Totally.
Like
Yeah.
totally. And I was
nice to me.
I was doing the kind of like that when the whole JCPenney debacle went down with my mom, And I remember sitting in the car crying, being like, I don't know what's wrong with me, Mom. Like trying to get her like to empathize with me when I knew that when I was doing it, it was not the right thing to do.
Totally. So you go to jail.
So I go to jail, and during that time, I had attended some AA meetings. And obviously, when you get DUIs, they force you to go to AA. But I was really good at signing my own court cards as well. So there's that too. So it's not like I was really going and like soaking up anything. And then my brother and I would write each other, and I still have these letters. I haven't gone through them, but when he was in prison and I was in county, we were writing each other back and forth. Because he wrote when he was away. I had the intentions when I was in there, like, I'm going to change my life. I was like doing all of these things. And I was like, this is not how I was raised. And just craziness, really. Because it's like, yeah, of course you're going to have these thoughts because you're locked up and you can't do shit. And now all of a sudden you want to like be this like great individual. Where was that energy at, like earlier on? So
Did you and your brother think it was... Did you guys joke about it a little bit at all at that time, or no, not really? Were either one of you like, well, here we are, both fucking locked up? Like,
I don't think so,
or
because
not.
I think
it's too serious at the time.
Yeah,
probably.
it was.
Yeah.
It was because
Okay.
I think his charges and also where he was at, like even mentally and
Okay.
his like addiction.
We weren't
was
making
pretty-
jokes yet.
No,
All
not
right,
yet.
Okay.
We didn't get there. We ended up getting there.
Right.
And now we totally do, because it's just like, what is life? Like even me sitting here on this podcast, which I'm like, wow, I haven't really sat down and like kind of went through my story in quite some time. I forget a lot of it too, which is also kind of sad because I don't want to forget the parts of making those mistakes and how easily that I can really fall back into old behavior even without a substance. And like we can obviously we'll talk on that later, but so I really had the mentality that I was going to like change my life as soon as I just graduated college. I have so much ahead of me. I want to move to LA. I have all these ambitions to do not really much, like where I didn't know what I wanted to do in entertainment, but I wanted to go and be a star of some degree,
Also an addict thing, I think.
I think so.
Yes.
It has. I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Mhm. Delusions of grandeur. In your case, they weren't delusions. You become famous, but like delusions of grandeur, quick money. It's also like it seems like it's going to be easier. Like I remember really thinking when I was at the University of Georgia, I was like, bro, fuck this. Like if a class was at like 9 a.m, I was like, I really believed if I had to get up early at like 8, it hurt my stomach. I would tell you that with a straight face. I'd be like, yeah, I don't know what's wrong with me. There's something about my constitution, man. If I get up early, I get sick. It's weird. And like people around me were like, okay. Like I repeated this, but I remember thinking, you know what would be easier? It would be easier to go be a famous actress than finish this English degree at Georgia. I'm going to do that instead. I really thought it would be easier. I genuinely did.
Yeah.
So I think there's something to that a little bit.
Yeah. I think something along the lines because
But you really did it. So that's different.
But I really didn't. God definitely did, because like I never wrestled a day in my life.
Right.
I didn't even know really what I was chasing in LA. All
Sure,
I knew that I
okay.
like really loved, which is so ironic too, because for being so damn insecure and having such a massive amounts of self-doubt, to go do something where you're like literally in front of a camera or you're meant to perform,
It's crazy.
is acidine.
I totally.
You know?
It makes no sense.
Well, it's like that's why the rooms are funny to me, because it's like, how can I be like the most, think that I'm like way too good and the best at everything, and then I'm,
Well,
you know
they
what I'm saying?
say one of the best ways I ever heard it described is the addict thinks I'm the piece of shit at the center of the universe.
Yeah, yeah. Which is like, what?
Yeah.
That's like, those doesn't
Right.
even align.
So you're in jail and you start thinking, I'm going to go to LA.
Yes.
I'm going to change my life.
Yep, not really knowing exactly what I think I wanted to be at the time, because MySpace was quite big, and I want to say there was the Playmates, those
Oh,
girls,
right.
you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
what was that show? Girls Next Door?
Girls Next Door.
That was very large. So I think I wanted
And
to
they were
be,
doing the searches at that time too.
I
So
think
maybe you
so.
wanted to do one of those.
No, I didn't want to do anything Playboy
Oh,
wise,
okay.
but I definitely wanted to be like magazine or something of that degree. So I ended up getting out, and within 6 hours, I was already drunk and looking for the dope. And that's what's like so baffling to me, because I really believed, like I really believed.
So sobriety was part of your plan.
It was, because I was like, I had attempted to some of the meetings that they had going on. I thought that like, I'll give it a whirl, you know, and I just wasn't my case. And I was off to the races, I guess you can say, like within 6 hours of getting released from jail, which is like mind boggling, because it's like,
Do you remember what you thought at the time? Were you like, fuck?
I don't think so. I think I literally was like, I'm young, let's roll.
Totally.
You know, I really don't think that I had the wherewithal of like, I didn't think that this thing had its claws in me as deep as it did. I think I was quite naive. I think that I also blamed a lot of it on just like, I feel like this, like I've always felt like this depressed, no good, self-defeated person at a really young age. So I thought it was nothing different. And now I just am making these bad decisions that are now accumulating to consequences that are way higher than not being able to go out at night.
Right.
You know?
But it's definitely not addiction.
No way.
That's how I felt too. Everything. Yeah.
And you know what's bizarre? Like, and that's why, you know, we do live in an era where there's so much education now, from podcasts to people actually talking about their stories and how they overcome them or what they're doing today, where when we're growing up, it was very much, it wasn't really even heard of. And like I never got to meet my grandfather because he died of cirrhosis of the liver. My dad got to literally watched him die, which is such a horrible disease to die from. And this is not a fault to my parents, but the conversation of addiction, or like you possibly might have an alcohol problem or an allergy, or this is what happened, or this was what happened in grandpa. Not saying that even if those conversations happened, would anything be different? Probably not.
Mine did tell me that.
Okay, see,
And I still went my whole. Yeah.
a perfect example, because I am the type of individual that you tell me not to put my hand on the stove, I'm putting my hand on the stove 9 different times, thinking that it's going to be different for me on the first, second, third, fourth. Like I'm going to figure out a way to maneuver, to manipulate, to scheme, to hustle, to somehow it's going to work out for me. And the only reason I say that is because I got to watch my brothers that were older than me make these similar decisions and have to face their own consequences, yet it will be different for me. And here I am. Totally falling into their footsteps, and then also consequences same. You know, so it's like, not saying that, that's why I'm saying like if the conversations that like anybody had with me and sat me down and told me these types of information, would they happen? Probably not, because obviously the action was happening in front of me. I was young and watching all of this chaos go on within my brothers, and watching my parents have to navigate that. And I still wasn't thinking the drug or the drink was the issue.
Totally.
You know, I was very naive to the disease per se of what this kind of can cause an individual to kind of succumb to. And I really think that, I mean, God's timing is always his timing, and for when whatever reason, and I'm 23 now, and all of a sudden my brother is able to get released, and he ends up coming down south to live with me. Now he is sober at this time, so he is tells me I need to find a meeting, and my life was like in shambles. You know, I wasn't doing really anything, and I find a 6 a.m. meeting in Yerba Linda. I go to it, and I enjoy it. I end up telling him, like, he goes, well, did you get a sponsor? Of course I didn't. But I heard this woman's share, and I love what she had to say. And then we end up going to church that night in Yerba Linda Friends Church. And all of a sudden I look up on the Jumbotron, and I'm like, oh my God, Neil, that's Mo, the lady that I wanted to sponsor me that I heard share. She's singing in the...
At the church that you were at.
That I was at. So he was like, well, you need to go back to that meeting, and you need to ask her to be your sponsor. So sure enough, I went back to that meeting, asked her to be my sponsor, and she's been my sponsor ever since.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Still right now as we sit here?
Yeah, I had to call. Well, so
I mean, I know we drift away and come back, but she is still your sponsor.
She is still my sponsor.
Wow. Oh, that's really cool.
Well, the only reason also too is because, so obviously sobriety is a little all over the place for me, because at 23, I had 3 years, and then I was like, I'm good.
Oh, you get 3 years from this moment?
From this moment at 23. Yep, 23 to 26. I end up putting those...
Where's wrestling in this?
Not yet.
Oh, fuck.
I don't get wrestling till I'm 28.
Oh, that's right. You said that. All right. Okay.
So
you're sober for 3 years with a sponsor.
With my sponsor. My brother is living with me, and life is good. You know, I'm working at a termite company.
Okay.
And going to meetings with my brother, and life is great. And I'm doing the steps and all the things that the promises start happening. I get my driver's license back, you know, like normal things that normal people don't lose. And then my brother ends up moving back up north for work and everything like that. And he ended up getting a relationship, which is also an indicator of like why he moved back up north too, in my eyes, but it's his now wife. And I think that I got it. And I'm 26, and I'm in a relationship. I'm living in Sherman Oaks, and I'm just like, I was young and I've got this. So the first thing that I started doing is stop going to meetings, stop sponsoring women, stop doing, you know, my normal things that are suggested. And then finally I called up my sponsor, and I was like, hey Mo, I love you so much. Thank you for everything. I've graduated. And she's like, well, we don't really, you know, I don't think so, but you know, I wish you luck. And, you know, I'm here for you if you need something. And I was like, okay. So I like white knuckled it for like 9 months. And then all of a sudden, and I was working bottle service. So it's like, it was just a matter of time, you know? And sure enough, after 9 months, I go ahead and, because that nightlife, it's always around you. But obviously, like, if you are not spiritually fit, it's just a moment. It's not if, it's when. And one night I just decided to go ahead. They were offering shots, and I was like, I'll take one. And then it was like I had never left. It was
really
so bad.
Did you want Coke that night?
Oh my God, that night.
Yeah.
It was.
Did you get some that night?
I didn't get some in that night. I was trying to play it cool because I was dating this guy, and I didn't want to seem like such a fucking junkie. You know, I wanted to play it cool, and like, because I remember after that night too, because I had told him that I didn't drink, and then the next day I remember asking him, I was like, I was good, right? If you're asking people, for anyone that is listening, if you're asking other people if you were okay and you were good, that could be a sign, you know, because anybody that is in full control of their behavior
isn't asking. Right. Yeah.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
right.
That's just.
That was good, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah.
I can drink.
Right. So, I thought that I could, and then all of a sudden, you know, it wasn't like right off the bat I was acting crazy and making bad decisions, but it progressively, like, you know, I'd have moments of, okay, I was all right this night, but then I started to just immediately go back into just a mess. And I mean, I crashed my car. That's like my thing. I missed my best friend's wedding or her bachelor party because the night before I had totaled my car, and I got a hematoma on my forehead, broke my nose, and I was in jail. Like, that's where I go. You know, like I don't do lows like a depressive low in my bed and I can't get up. I'm like crashing cars, and it's
going to jail.
Crazy, and going to jail. Like it's It's that 0 to 100. So from 26 to 28, I was on one. And it got really, really dark, like at the end of 27, almost 28 years old. I just like vanished from the world for like 3 months, and I was just doing drugs. Like, it was an apartment, but like everything was blacked out.
Oh, wow.
hmm
Okay.
And I was in like a really gross relationship too. That it was like a.
Were you
Yeah.
still working at that time? How were you paying for anything?
So I took up held credit on my credit card so that I could just like disappear.
Yeah.
And so it got really bad.
And no crystal comes in, no meth.
It did, but it wasn't as prevalent. Like, we were messing around with so many other drugs that I had done meth a couple of times, just smoked it. And the girl that I smoked it with, I think she scared me because she was really not well, and I wasn't as sick as her, that it, like, I don't know, something about it just made me like fearful. During those 3 months, I was doing whatever was available. And obviously cocaine was like the main, but then like Molly and everything else combination.
And this was in LA somewhere?
This was in West Hollywood. And then I don't know how this moment of clarity came to me, but a moment of clarity came. And my brother was trying to sporadically talk to me because I know that my mom was like, you need to talk to your sister. Because my parents, I talk to them every single day. I FaceTime my parents every single day. And
Even during those 3 months?
no,
Okay.
no.
Okay. Right. Okay.
But I'm really close with my mom, and so I would have to like.
So you would still talk to her a little bit during
Yes.
that time? Okay.
And so that's how she knew I was like off the chain.
Okay.
And before like they were gonna come and intervention my ass, she was like, you need to talk to your sister. You need to talk to your sister, because I always try to play it like I got it together. I never had it together, like never. But my mom always kind of knew too. So I want to say like my brother must have planted something in me to all of a sudden I had this like clarity of change, but like not really. So I ended up going to Pasadena rehab. It's not open anymore.
Okay.
Talk about grandiose. It was from Celebrity Rehab.
Celebrity Rehab.
Dr.
Drew's
spot.
place. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I went
I know
there,
what
because I
you're
saw it
talking
on
about,
TV.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, maybe that could help me.
So you're in this trap house, you see it, and then what, you drive there and walk in the front door? How do
No,
you
so I
actually
end
get
up-
there?
I end up getting out of this relationship and I hop into another one. And that's how I ended up there.
The person like brought you.
By her. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so then my bright idea was I will go ahead and go to rehab to make everyone just relax. Because I really like, what's so weird looking back, even though my life was so chaotic and I felt like death and I wanted to like not really live here but not really be here, but I didn't know, I just couldn't I couldn't grasp that I really had a problem. Even though I was already in the rooms, even though step one is like came to power, like that I was powerless, I still like didn't think that was like, oh, I need to turn back to like AA, And so I end up going to rehab, and mind you, I put it on my credit card, so I'm in like nasty debt at this point, because there's no way that I want my parents to have to. That was the whole reason why I ended up going to jail, is so that my parents, why should they have to financially have to pay for something that I'm the problem? So I go and I put this rehab stay on my credit card, and I fail my drug tests every day
While you're there?
while I'm there.
It's outpatient or inpatient?
It was outpatient.
Okay, so you're just using and going to outpatient and just still the whole time.
Like,
yeah.
so stupid. And I think at that time too, I had like my first cover of my magazine was coming out too. It was just like thinking that I was like,
How had you gotten that done?
I had gotten the magazine done earlier on.
Okay,
And
all
so
right.
it took
Okay.
so long for it to actually come out. And it didn't drop when I was like in there. It had dropped previously. However, that was the thing that I had said while I was in there, to feel like
Of course. Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
It was like the weirdest thing that was it was a cover of Import Tuner. It's like, bitch, sit down.
Well, to be different too,
Right,
right? I'm
right.
sure. It's like,
Something.
I understand you guys need meetings and you're going to need to
Yeah.
go to a church basement for the rest of your life. I get that, but I don't. Look, I'm on the cover of this magazine. It's not the drugs.
And I did that sober. The cover of the
Oh, you
magazine.
did?
I did.
Okay.
So it was just like a weird, like, it was an odd time because there was like kind of a little nugget of like, this is great, like holding on, but I was so sick. So it was like, I couldn't even really enjoy the magazine because I had lost my sobriety. So, and my sobriety was like, I had done the magazine. You know what I mean? It was enough for me to like hang in there because it was still during my like sober time. But then, you know, it was just like a weird kind of moment of like, and also too, it's not like you're in rehab, you're not doing well. So what are you doing? Like, what are you talking about? Like, no, bitch, you're not it. You know, like sometimes I that's how I sponsor other women too. Sometimes people think I'm a little bit too harsh, but it's like, you're not doing well. Like, you came in here. Like, we are not coming in here on like,
You don't get to rehab on a winning streak.
no. Like, you really don't. You don't walk into an AA meeting, a CA meeting, a CMA meeting
Because
like,
things are
killing the
going
game.
well. Yeah,
Like,
totally.
you're not.
Yeah,
You are losing. You are striking out, and you are like needing some life. You're on, you know, life support at that point. That was just a mess. So a waste of money because I wasn't ready. And then, lo and behold, I meet my ex-husband during this time, and I end up start talking to him. I'm now like dancing a little bit more. He was really healthy in the gym.
He lived in LA.
He lived in Orange County. I lived in LA. At this time, I'm sharing a bed with my girlfriend. Shout out to D, because I had no place to live and I wasn't going to move back in with mom and dad. So I'm sharing a bed with her in her place until I figured out, you know, trying to like put things together and try to maintain a little bit of sobriety. But I'm not really, because I'm still having like, okay, maybe I won't do drugs, but I'm going to drink. But I would drink, and I don't drink normally. Like, I am allergic times a million. And then I meet him. I started dating him for a little bit. And then during one of my like sobriety moments, I had gone to like a casting call that I had forgotten about for WWE. And it was like maybe 9 months prior.
And
So
you
it was
forgot?
like I had forgot because it was so long ago.
Yeah.
And I had then received a call back, and I went to it, not even thinking anything of it. I guess I'm lightweight sober at the time, not working a program or anything. I'm just like trying to stick life out. Also, I just met this guy, so I'm kind of trying to pretend that I'm like not a crackhead. So I go, and then I'm like, oh my fucking God, like, this is a dream. This is a dream. This is it. This is it. I walk into WWE's headquarters. All of a sudden I look at the walls and I'm like seeing Hulk Hogan and all the main guys. And I'm just like, what in the world? Go into a room and they ask me a bunch of different questions, and they say, okay, you know, well, if we call you back, then it's going to be another like in front of like yes men. And then from there, it'll be a 4-week in-ring tryout and see if you, and then just for a developmental contract. That's it. Meaning you would just move at the time. Tampa was where their facility was. And then you would just like learn how to wrestle, build your character, and then with the hopes and the dreams of getting called up to the main roster.
That's so cool.
Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown. So as soon as I leave that, I'm like, oh my God, like this is it. I call my parents and I'm like, oh my God, this has everything infused into like what I want to do. It has the physicality that I was missing from, you know, being an athlete my entire life, because you have to handle the physicality inside the ring. You have a locker room camaraderie with the other girls. You travel the world entertaining. I get to be a character, and it's live television. Then they do a bunch of like community outreach programs or like work from hospitals. I've gone to Afghanistan multiple times to visit our troops, and obviously military is big to me because of my dad. I was like, if God can make this happen, like this is it.
Wow.
So from there, I am still dating Jonathan, and I get a call back, and then all of a sudden I start my in-ring 4-week.
They get you the developmental contract. And
Not yet.
Okay.
Because you're trying out for the
Okay.
developmental contract. But I got call back all the way to the 4-week in-ring physicality portion. Day 1. Fell in love with it. I literally couldn't move my body. Like, I could not lift my legs. Like, my girlfriend at the time, she had dogs. And so, you know, the little baby gates, she would put the baby gates up. I had to
lift your foot up.
lift my legs up because I'm a field athlete. I like to keep my legs on the ground. In wrestling, you know, you're doing like forward rolls, backward rolls, all these things, and putting your body into positions that I have never put my body into. But I fell in love with it because it was giving me something that I was yearning for, something new, something that I had to work at and practice at. And it was just like, and we were in the gym, and I really feel like, as crazy as it sounds, that experience like saved my life.
It saved your life. No, I was just thinking that, Russ. It saved your life.
And I don't think I've ever shared that before, because it coincided the same time that I did Total Divas, because after the 4-week in-ring physicality portion, and I had gotten that developmental contract, all that was next steps was, okay, get your life together, and then you're moving to Tampa. And that was it. So it was like nothing more than that. It wasn't like you're going Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown. Like, you still had the opportunity to not make anything further than developmental, you know? And I thought that was just like the best. And so lo and behold, they were also in the works of casting and getting ready to start filming for Total Divas, which at the time, kind of unheard of. It was like reality TV was huge, but it was like Kardashians. But this show was going to showcase and follow the behind the scenes of what it's like to be a WWE diva, you know, being on the road 290 days out of the year, trying to balance relationships, this, that, and the other. And so whatever happened, it was a last minute decision, because they were actually going to go with 2 girls from the developmental program, NXT, and just pull them up on the main roster. But then all of a sudden, because they have the new tryout from LA, they were like, you know what? A great addition to the show. We'll leave those girls back down at developmental. We want 2 girls that know nothing about the business, have never wrestled a day before, and
show that journey.
And show that
also.
journey as well.
Wow.
At the same time. So I got that call, went in for that audition, because I was living in LA. So I'm like, yeah, why not? I haven't had this experience, maybe once or twice, but I went in, it was a green screen. It was like, sit down, producers, chit chat, drilling about your life story, who you are. And then he said, you know what? This project's moving really fast. So, if you get it, you know, your life is going to change. And I was like, okay. As soon as I walked out of the door, I was like, I murdered that. Like, I just had like this, I just knew. And I call Jonathan, my ex-husband at the time, and I tell him about it. And so we end up driving that night. It was a Friday. Drive up to the Bay Area where I'm from. He meets my parents for the first time. Saturday, I get a call that I got the job. They mentioned me dyeing my hair blonde because they had lost previous girls that had retired that were blondes. And at the time, there's no hair color in WWE. I didn't even hear that part. I just was like, what? I had gotten the job. And it was a huge moment because I was there with my family. So for so long, it was such disappointment after disappointment, and just like failure or something or this, that, or the other going on. And I got to share this like monumental, huge moment with my family. And it was like literally one of the best experiences, because I was like on the phone in my parents' front yard and like jumping for joy, because I knew that everything was going to change. I didn't know what that was, but I knew that it was something that I had no idea, like what am I going to embark on. So that was Saturday.
And he was there to ask your parents if he could marry you.
Yeah.
So on top of that, you're getting married, which you know, right? You know that's what he's asking?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So it was a wild weekend, and that Monday, I'm flying to New York for WrestleMania and start filming episode 1 of Total Divas.
Oh,
so within
my
like
God.
48, 72 hours, my life changed.
Did Jonathan go with you to New York?
No.
Okay.
He couldn't, because he was working at Blizzard at the time. He was the gaming company. And
wow.
yeah, and I never looked back. That's why also too, for someone, and even I'm saying this to myself because I'm in such a weird season myself, is that, you know, God can change your life in a moment.
In an instant.
In a moment.
Totally.
I had never wrestled a day in my life. If my story of WWE Total Divas isn't a testament of what God can do for somebody, I don't know what is, because I never wrestled, nor did I ever have the dream of being in WWE. Like, do I respect WWE? Am I so grateful for it and all of the things? And do I absolutely love being able to entertain and wrestle and perform? Yes.
But it wasn't part of the plan.
Wasn't part of my
It wasn't even on
plan.
your radar.
Right.
Right.
And it wasn't even like, even when I was auditioning and all those times in like LA, never once did like WWE pop into my head, like, oh, this could be fun. So that's where I'm like, you know, you'll hear people to say something like, how did you know, like, it was God or it was something? It's like, that is for sure, because it wasn't me. And not only that, prior to that, I was really messy. You know, I was like pretending to be in rehab, for Pete's sake.
Yeah.
You know, not really doing all of these things. And
So when do you actually get sober in this process?
so I'm like sober at that time now.
Okay.
Because of getting after the like the 4-week tryout, I'm not doing drugs anymore. I'm not drinking anymore because of Jonathan too.
Okay. So does that become your sobriety date? That back then?
Pretty much. So that's March 24th,
Okay.
2013 is my sobriety date.
Okay.
So it
And this is right in
coincides.
around that time.
And that's totally, because
Okay.
it's like Total Divas came out in 2013. Yeah. Maybe like 6 months after my sobriety date.
so before you went
Because
to New
I
York.
shared. Yes.
Okay, so you stopped before you even went to New York.
Yes. Because on season 1 of Total Divas, we're in New York and the twins come and give me champagne and I say I don't drink.
Oh wow. Okay.
So it all happened before, like I had the wherewithal, but honestly, I had stopped drinking for that tryout.
Okay.
So like trying to get it together because I knew
And then
that I
you just
had to
kept
be-
going.
Mhm. And then also because of, I mean, it's like I would like to take all credit, but I tried to hop back on the wagon and then I met Jonathan and he's a healthy dude. One of our first dates, he offered me wine with what he had cooked and I said, no, thank you. Cause I know better by this point of like, I'm a jackass. And then I had not told him why I don't drink. He just assumed that I don't drink because like,
For like health reasons or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
but I had relapsed in front of him in Vegas at his best friend's bachelorette party. So that's,
So that's the
Is
trigger for
when-
March 24th.
yes.
Okay.
And then WWE, me getting the job and everything came after March 24th.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And it was a mess and it was pretty fucking bad. Not just bad as in like I embarrassed myself. You know, I'm
In
very
Vegas.
much in Vegas in front of his friends. And that's when it was a big indicator where he was like, well, I can't be with you unless, you know, you work a program and get sober. He's a smart guy. And then he called my parents. He called my mom and was like, you know that your daughter is an alcoholic.
You're like, oh, we know.
And my mom's like, oh, yeah, actually. So that's really what triggered me to hop in gear. And plus I had so much ahead of me. You know, I had the tryout at the time and everything that, because I hadn't gotten WWE yet.
Right.
I had just the tryout
It was on
that
the horizon,
coming.
but it wasn't for sure. But
Right.
then this happened.
Right.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's either how it worked, because I can't remember the timeline of if I had. I don't think that I had the actual WWE job yet because I had received the call and then was gone. So it makes sense
Right.
for
yeah,
it
yeah.
to be
It had
before.
been just
Yes.
prior.
and then my tryout and then the job.
So how long do you have Diva? Like, how long does that show last?
I did 6 seasons. So I was on from 2013 until 2017. I stepped away to do my first film, which you can watch on Netflix. It's with Nicolas Cage and Faye Dunaway. It's called Inconceivable. And then I did another film. I did an Amazon Prime TV show where Bella Thorne's my girlfriend. It's actually cool. It's a kick-ass show. I wish it actually took off because there were so many cool castmates from all over. We had like Sons of Anarchy on there. We had Disney kids. We had Olivia Colpo, like beautiful pageant girl on there. The cast was just like so crazy, and the plot was like, it was about rock stars and like Los Angeles, and it played the angel and the devil kind of theme. So really cool. And then I went back to WWE in 2021 to 2022.
Where are you living during this time? LA still?
I'm in Orange County.
Orange County still. Okay.
I'm in Orange County during all of this. I'm on the road from 2013 to 2017, but my home is in Orange County. I move in 21 to Texas when I go back on the road because it makes more sense when you're in the WWE. All your shows are primarily East Coast or Central, so like being on the West Coast is like tough.
All right. That makes sense. I didn't know that, but that makes sense.
Yeah, because
Okay.
it eats up so much of your time, and your day is off for like, you know, a day and a half if you're working that like the gnarly schedule. And then my childhood best friend, Megan, she lives in Texas and had been wanting me to go to Texas and get out there. So it made sense to be central, and Dallas would be my airport. And it's literally a straight shot, literally everywhere. So I went back to WWE in 21 till 22. And then in 2023, my old former business partner, she calls me and says, hey, my neighbor, they just started this podcast and think that your story would be really awesome to be on it. It's called the Hopeaholics. And I'm like, my initial reaction is always no. And then, and I'm like doing a bunch of stuff. Like I'm a athlete for Monster, for Rain Total Body Fuel energy drink. And so I was on the road a lot for them at that time. And I'm like, no. I kind of put it off. And then she's like, dude, like look into it. They do a lot for veterans and all this stuff. And I know how important it is for your dad. And she's like my home girl. Like we were business partners with one of my previous businesses. And she had saw some thick of it for me, you know, because like I ebb and flow through this program. Now, hopefully not. But my growing stages of the program have made me who I am today, like to not ebb and flow in the program. And she got to witness that of just like having to go to meetings and kind of struggling a little bit and going back and forth with just like my program. So I ended up looking up the podcast and I could not find it. I was like, bro, I don't.
This needs to be findable.
This is not exists. Like I cannot find this. And then finally she connects me with everybody and then it works out. And I come out July 27th, 2023 to just be a guest on the podcast, kind of share my story. And then within like a month and a half, I'm back out partnering up, signing
As like
paperwork.
a permanent co-star, co-host.
Yep.
Okay. So during all of this,
I know.
I mean, it's a lot.
Oh, and
right?
I'm divorced.
So, which you've yet to talk about yet.
Right.
Right. So, whatever you're willing to share, and here's the angle I want. Not necessarily like the gotcha juice interview, right? Not that, not the tablet, but like you stayed sober through that time. He obviously was very important in your sobriety in your life in the beginning. And you said he was a smart guy. He knew this and that. What happened?
You know, there's so many things. I really think that for him and I hate saying this, where I don't really think that I ever wanted to get married. So I think for me at that time, and I didn't have enough courage, I didn't have enough balls per se to tell somebody who I thought was going to be great for me, because he was the opposite of everything that I had ever had before. And he was a God-fearing man that was attractive to me at the time. He knew a lot about religion and things that I wanted to know about. He also was the polar opposite of anything that I have ever dated previously. And so it was like almost like safe, right? I'm not saying that to be like, oh my God, that's so horrible. Like you can't, but it's really, I have done so much work on it. And like, he knows this too. So it's not something that it would be hearing for the first time, but in my heart, in my core, and this is for people listening too. If you listen to your intuition on something, 99.9% of the time it is correct. And on this one, I leaned more so in a safe bet as opposed to what I truly knew in my heart would be right. And for me, that is, you know, I've had to accept that and be okay with it too, because it's not very fair to him either. And don't get me wrong, our marriage was good. We were like best friends. And so, but that's the problem. It wasn't a marriage. And there wasn't anything that was like shady that happened for the divorce to all of a sudden, you know, kind of pop up, you know? But then as soon as I think that I moved out here to be so involved in the podcast and the treatment center, I don't know. And me turning 40, I was like, what are we doing? Yeah. Like, I'm on the road, I'm working all the time, and there isn't.
You lived separately, right?
You
lived here,
like,
yeah.
Completely. And, you know, the times that he would come out here, and there's just like, and that's not a marriage, you know? And I also think if you stop trying to put in that time, it's inevitable for people to drift and you know, go apart. And so that's when I went ahead and I was like, okay, I'm doing it. You know, I was worried for so many reasons, because my parents are 53 years over here, you know, like the poster children for it. But at the end of the day too, we have one life. And if you're not living it to your fullest, and I'm not talking about like, yes, of course, there's going to be seasons that are harder than others. But I think from the initial jump, I didn't give us a shot because I never wanted to really be fully into a marriage. And that's on me. And that's something that, you know, I have to digest and kind of forgive myself for it. But he also knew. So it's also for sure. He's not a silly man.
But also, you guys built a lot while you were
We did.
together.
We
and
totally
I think
did.
that, again, like we said earlier, like two things can exist at once.
I
It
really
isn't-
do.
You know what I mean? It isn't necessarily ultimately the right thing for whatever reason or for this time, but it can absolutely propel you to a different place in life. And I think that we have all of these ideas about marriage that are good, of course, like, you know, that you're going to do it forever and it's this and it's that. But the reality is that marriage is a relationship, yes. And some relationships are meant to get you somewhere else or to build this or to teach you that or to teach someone else something. And I think that you can say like that was a good time and we developed a lot of good stuff together, but also it's not right for me now.
Right. And I think that's exactly kind of what had transpired, because I have to look back and I'm like, you know what? I was able to accumulate 13 years of sobriety. And that for itself is huge, because that's like the number one thing that I'm proud of, because I know for a fact if I'm not sober, I have nothing, you know? And I definitely have empathy with anybody that goes through divorce now. It is even with somebody that you think that is going to be like amicable and all things are going to be great and all those things, it definitely brings out like characteristics in individuals that you think that don't exist or never have. And that's like the sad thing about divorce, you know? And I think for me personally, mine's pretty raw, pretty fresh. I mean, like I just finished like I literally had, because my situation is very much reversed, where usually it's the guy having to pay the girl, while I'm the girl having to pay the guy. That was a tough one for me to swallow, because I'm just like, ouch, you know, like, and I would never leave anybody without what is fair, you know, but that's where I mean like characteristics of others that you never thought were in them come out. And that's the ugly thing about divorce. But, you know, I do believe in that everything, like God says, you get double for your trouble. So I'm praying that it comes back to me tenfold.
It will. Look at what you've built.
Yeah.
You'll continue to do so, you know. But it is, I feel like that's universal. Divorce just brings out this like
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
And we don't even have any kids.
Yeah, and y'all. My best friend got divorced a few years ago, and she's like the kindest, sweetest person I've ever known. And when I saw her, and I hadn't seen her in a few years, and she just looked. When I saw her, she had initiated. She just looked. She was like gaunt, and she looked angry. She was so mad, and she had initiated, but they were just in it. And now she's actually been and she was like, I'm never going to get married again. Blah, blah, blah. She just got married like 2 weeks ago. Yep. She met somebody at her church actually. And, you know, they got through, but like when I saw her, I was struck by how she was just angry. And again, she had initiated it, but she was so mad at like how it just brings out this side. And you think like, oh, it's just another breakup, but it obviously isn't. You know what I mean? It obviously is not that. Did you ever during that time think, how did you get through that time? Because I wanted to circle back to the depression issue, because that's still a side of you. How do you manage any emotional hardship, depression, that particular emotional hardship? How do you manage while continuing to do all of the things that you do? What are your tools to process emotional times that are difficult when they're happening?
So, you know, it's a great question, because I do go through kind of peaks and valleys with it. Sometimes, you know, I allow myself to have my moments and I'm like literally a crying, miserable wreck, you know, at home. But especially within these last 2 years for myself, I have dove deeper into my program than ever before. So even going back into church and, you know, really trying to hone in on my spiritual connection for sure, attending way more meetings than ever. I've never been a meeting person really. I mean, like, obviously I attend them, but if it's up to me, I'm going to the bare minimum. Like, I have a Monday night women's meeting tonight. I have my Wednesday meeting. I go to a Thursday meeting. So it's like I've really dove back into my program and staying connected with like my sponsor and really opening up in that element, because I've known for me what usually happens is I will isolate and I will keep everything in and pretend that everything is okay. And then I have this like massive kind of like explosion, and I don't want it to spill into like weeks, months, years. And there's too many things. And plus, it's very difficult, like being on a podcast myself and talking to individuals that are going through certain things where I have to take accountability, because if I'm going to preach anything recovery or preach anything program, what am I doing on a daily basis? And I really think that the podcast in a weird subconscious way has saved me through this time too, because it made me dive into my program, because I do not ever want to be that person that talks a good game but their actions are shit, where it's like I can talk the program because I've been around the room since I was 23, but like what am I doing? Like, is attraction rather than promotion? Does someone look at me and be like, damn, something about her, like what is she doing? I would love to have like whatever's going on over there. I want that energy. I don't want like, oh, I love this. She talks, all this big game on a podcast, but she ain't doing nothing in her real life. Or she's like this type of person in real life. It's like, no, I want to be the same individual I am on the mic and behind closed doors when nobody else is watching, when the camera's not around. And so it's like, what am I doing on a daily basis? And so,
well, I feel like it also, I don't think I've ever thought this before. It forced me, because I've had it during COVID, during my studio, whatever. It has forced me to continue to like learn and grow, because I don't also want to be saying the same things on the mic that I was saying in 2020. Like, I've also had to learn and grow and hear things in meetings that I can share. And I learn from the guests too. Like I learned from you today. And so I think the podcast was never meant to be my recovery, and it isn't, but it can't have helped but propel my recovery and help develop it a little bit more. It just did, even though I didn't necessarily mean it to, And so I'm sure that's true. I'm sure the podcast has kept you anchored in to recovery and to growth, because you have to grow to be able to show up in a way that continues to be inspiring.
I think so. And I think life is about evolving.
Right.
And like, if we ever are at a standstill, that's never good. It's one of those things where it's like you want things to constantly keep flowing, and I constantly want to keep growing, and I want to be able to add some type of value into exactly what you're saying. When you're talking to individuals and hearing their stories, like what am I adding to it instead of like the same story? I can only tell the same story about like red hair or something like that, because that story is itself. Like, but when it comes to life, like how do you go through a divorce? Like, how did I go through that divorce? Or how did you walk through something that is joyful? But it's like all of these things that are, I think, coincide, because it's like you can't experience joy without pain. You can't experience love without like severe loss.
Yeah.
All those things that we tried to avoid, especially being an addict and alcoholic, we're like really, really sensitive individuals, and we take a lot of things in and try not to, not everybody, but it's easy for me to wear a mask. It's easy for me to paint this picture of everything is okay. And I think I've learned in the rooms that it's okay to like let that mask off, and I think with the podcast, it's helped me share a little bit more vulnerability of where I am, where it's like, I'm grateful for my life. I'm grateful for the opportunities, and I'm really happy for certain aspects of my life, but that doesn't mean that I'm perfect by any means and I don't struggle, where it's like, I'm almost 42 years old and I feel like I'm starting all over. Like that's a strong pill to swallow.
Do you feel like you're starting all over? Just because you're wanting to relaunch the fitness stuff? Is that what you... Oh, well, in the divorce, duh, you're starting over without the marriage.
Well, I think in so many aspects, because of like in a business component too, I'm starting over, because it's like I'm rebuilding every business that was already at one point in time up and running, but then wasn't operating anyways during that marriage towards the end. Because we had stopped operating, I think in 2019 or 2017 for the NEM fashion, and then for the fitness, I think we had stopped in 2020. So I just think in so many areas, and then also too, like I just sold my house, so now I'm not in the house anymore. Not saying that there's nothing wrong with that, but it's like that's a reality of the situation that plays on your fucking ego.
Yeah, for sure.
I miss my gym that I had at my house, and now I have to go to a gym. You know what I mean? Like
little things like that
that aren't where at the flip of a coin. It's like it's a hard. I'm in a hard spot, because it's like I'm so grateful for all of these different little things, but at the same time grieving the loss of something that I had, right?
Yeah, of what was.
Mm-hmm.
Last two questions.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that's a lie. 3. What does a perfect day look like for you?
Oh my gosh, that's so good, because I'm really trying to hone in on like, I have a hard time relaxing. I have a very difficult time checking out. And I think that you probably do too, because anybody that has like a business where being online is like part of that business, whether it's the podcast, whether it's fitness, whether it's your cycling studio, like whatever it is, you can lie to yourself and say that like, I need to be doing this. But like in actuality, I need to be like relaxing and resetting and recharging. But a perfect day for me is like really good food, spending either time with family or with an individual that I want to be with, and doing kind of anything that we want, whether it's like going on a walk or going to go work out or something where I'm not beating a clock.
Yeah, that's
And
a good way to
having
put it.
like, you know, get something done or be somewhere. I hate that part of
Life.
life. Like not like having to like on a perfect day, it's like there's no clock
There's
to beat.
no clock. Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's a great way to put that. You did step work, right? You're a 12-step person. Do you have a favorite step? Or when you look back, was there a step that was the most impactful, changed your life the most?
I always was like, there's so much ill connotation around 4 and 5, but I also have a thing where I think that people sometimes use it as an excuse to either not do it or to like go out, I couldn't wait to get to 4 just to like put all my shit out on the street and be like, let's get this done and like get these character defects out of me. I don't really feel like I have like a favorite except for I think like 1 and 12, because 1 is like heavy because you're really coming to a point where you're making this decision finally that like I'm not running the show and somebody else please take the wheel. For so long I really had a hard time thinking that I was powerless because I prided myself on like discipline and determination and like I got this and I can will myself into everything. And then 12 is, as much as I don't love doing it, I love doing it. Like, I don't want to sponsor anybody. I don't want to pick up the phone. I'm on the hunt for a sponsee. But then for whatever reason, like I have one so at year 4 of sobriety, I was in WWE. I had the house, I had the marriage, I had what to me was exactly all the things that I put on a list of like, I will be happy when. And I had all of these things and I wanted to kill myself and I was sober. I remember Jonathan had called my mom and then he was really worried. And mind you, I'm like killing life or so-called, right? And I was fulfilling a dream that I was like doing it. And I was on television. At the time, Total Divas was like number 1 or number 2 show, Kardashians and us. And I wanted to go to the doctor. I wanted to be put on like every antidepressant and all these things. And then Jonathan was like, you know what? Have you like talked to Mo? Have you told Mo like what's going on? And I hadn't. And so he's like, before you go to the doctor, before you start doing anything that you want to do, can you please, for me, call her? And I was like, okay. So I ended up calling Mo, kind of getting honest with her and telling her, what was going on. And she didn't immediately tell me like, you're insane, you're not going on any antidepressants, like get your life together, meaning like work your fucking program. She was like, you know what, before you do any of that, please just go to the next meeting tomorrow morning and raise your hand and look for a girl. So reluctantly I ended up going to 7 a.m. Mariners meeting when I lived out here, was my home group. Started consistently going to that meeting, and then I raised my hand, I shared, and then a girl came up to me after one of the meetings and asked me to sponsor her. And I say this story because at that time when I shared, it was just some like vulnerable thing that either I was going through and then I'm possibly a funny joke being like seeing the county jail bus drive by and be like, oh, that's not my ride anymore, And I started sponsoring her, and lo and behold, all of a sudden I didn't want to kill myself anymore. So she has saved my life. So that's why like step 12 could be super important, not only for yourself, but for somebody else, because I had no idea that's what I needed at that time. I was so stuck in myself and self-consumed that I thought a pill was going to fix something that was like deeply rooted from a spiritual sickness. And I wasn't doing anything to help myself. And I had all the things that I thought that was going to make me happy and fulfilled.
That's fascinating. The money, the house, the husband, the career.
Everything that I told myself that when I did not have it, when I was living broke as a joke, sharing a bed with my girlfriend, if I get on television, if I get this type of job, if I get this relationship, if I have this car, I will feel so much better than I do. Even if I don't even use the word happy, I will just feel fulfilled or accomplished or have some type of self-worth. I had zero.
That's wild.
And I had even maxed out those things.
Because I still think that stuff. And I guess hopefully we'll get
I
to
do
see one
too.
day if I'm wrong or not. You do again.
I do too. Where that now that those things that I once at a time had, whether it's, and it could be because it's so fresh or whatever.
Yeah.
I have bouts of disappointment or lack of self-worth because now I don't have those things. But once again, those are like material things. But I think in this season, that's what God is having me learn, is that those are just things, and to really lean and rely on Him only, because really we need money to live. You know, I'd be a fool to say like, money, no biggie, which is like, no. Yes, we need money to live, but that doesn't make an individual. I know a lot of wealthy people that are terrible people.
Right.
And I know a lot of people that have not a lot of money that are fabulous. So it's like really not getting your self-worth into money and fame and fortune. You know, it's a tough pill to swallow. And you hear people say like, oh yeah, you can say that because you're rich to somebody. I'm definitely not that. I'm not rich. I'm not now.
You were.
Maybe at one point in my life, but definitely not now. But it's like, I get it. It's like
But you know,
a
because
whole.
you've been there. Exactly. You can say, yeah, no, I know. It's easy. It sounds easy for me to say, but I can tell you that that is true and that is how I felt.
For sure. And that's why, like, you know, year 4 sobriety. And that's why, like, I have to check myself too. And why this year or these last 2.5 years have been, like, really pivotal in my recovery. Because if you look at meetings and pay attention to the time around, you don't really see that many cakes at 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. When I was in Texas, there was a guy that took his life at 20 years from disconnecting from the program. And then, like, you know, you see a lot of like 1 through 10, or then maybe 20 to 35.
Yeah.
Like the chunk that's like in the heart. And so I get, you know, a little squirmy and want to just dive into my program and make sure that, you know, I'm feeling the best spiritually fit as possible, so that way I don't go into my dark hole, because it's very, like, that is my natural state. Like, I truly am not lying. Like, people think I have such a large personality and just like so outgoing, which I am, but my natural state when I first wake up is not her.
Totally.
It's like insane. Joyce Meyer always says it all the time. Like, when she first wakes up, she has to tell God to get in my head before I do. I literally say that to myself.
Oh, I love that.
Right?
And I love Joyce Meyer.
I loved Joyce Meyer is my
Yeah,
girl.
uh-huh.
I love her.
I do too. I do too.
I feel like she's so real with just, she's not perfect and she's a
Right.
mess.
Yeah.
But like she always comes back to like a solution, and God can
Yeah.
and God will.
I love that. God, get in my head before I do.
Right?
Okay. Actual last question.
Okay.
Where can everybody connect with you, find you, all the projects that you currently have going on?
Yes. Okay. So on all social media, Natalie Eva Marie, really easy. So like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. NatalieEvaMarie.com has anything that I'm doing, especially with the relaunch of NemFit. NemFit has its own Instagram too. So if you need to work out, if you need a little guidance, if you need whatever, I got you dialed there. And then I have Nem Recovery Centers, and that's on, I mean, anybody that goes to just mine, they'll be able to find
All the things.
all the things. And I think that's all of it
Okay.
for now.
Well, how do you feel?
I feel great.
You do? Okay. It's the first time you've talked about the
I know.
divorce.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the divorce is one of those conversations where it's like, I don't think that I've fully digested
For
everything
sure. It
that's
just
gone
happened.
down,
Yeah.
you know?
Mhm.
And I also don't ever really want to talk like negatively about anybody, because what does that say about me? So it's just one of those things that I'm trying to navigate, and also trying to be honest and like, dude, life's messy. And like nothing that you see, also too, for anybody that is watching and listening, social media is a beautiful tool and it's amazing. And I love going on there for like, whether it's promoting certain things that I'm doing or researching things that I'm doing, or I get inspired or want to buy something from an influencer, that whatever they're doing. But it also is a scary place for, if you're not feeling the best about yourself, that you could fall into a rabbit hole of comparison.
That happens to you even?
Of
Really?
course. Yeah, that I'm not doing it, that I'm not doing enough. I don't, why don't I have this, or why haven't I accomplished that? And I have learned, and it's a form of it's a drug. So I'm an addict at heart. I want that dopamine hit. That is exactly what social media is. If you stay on it, you're feeding the hit. You know, you're getting more and more and more. So I've learned like trying to negate those things where if I want to feel bad about myself, you know, like what is the intention of doing this? Am I having a good time while I'm like
Scrolling.
And I was listening to he was just on Dr. Huberman's podcast, Andrew Huberman's podcast, and he brought up, I believe his name is, I'm gonna butcher it, Ido. He approaching certain things with a playfulness. You know, like we don't want to work out or we don't want to do this thing, and instead of looking at it like having to be, let's like power through this, or like I'm just gonna like will myself through this, is looking at it, and I'm butchering this because I haven't finished the entire
I'm following you though. The playful energy.
and I
Okay.
kind of liked where that was going because it kind of makes things a little bit lighter than what we liked, or at least for me, like what I put on things. But I digress. That totally went off topic. But what I was saying about the social media aspect is, especially for like younger kids, younger girls and stuff, and guys, to not play that game with yourself. Like try to have some type of will to put the phone down and remember it's a highlight reel.
Yep.
You know, like
something I'm working on all the time too. And that's why I ask. And it's refreshing to hear someone like you with 7 million followers, actual model, TV show, to know that you also could get in there sometimes and be like, wow, like I'm comparing myself too. So it's like, okay, so it's actually everyone that feels that way. But it is really hard because it's our actual job. And so, like you said, it's very easy for me to convince myself, no, I do actually have to be on here. I need to know what trends are. I'm going to be at Seasons. I got to make something, you know, like, and I feel like I have gotten better about just putting it down. I've gotten better about the numbers. Like,
yeah, that's another one too.
yeah, I have. Honestly, I'm like, you know what? As long as I'm making stuff that I'm proud of, when I scroll back and I watch things, I'm like, oh, wow, that was a good point that I said there. You know what I mean? I'm like, as long as that's happening, then okay, I just got to let this ride,
For sure. Agree.
you know?
No, it's good.
So I
I'm
try.
kind of the same too. Like
Yeah.
I'll go through little bouts, but
Yeah.
it's the
Even at
same.
7 million or 6 million.
Oh
or
yeah.
whatever? Really?
Oh yeah.
Are you like,
always
I should
feel
have 10?
I should for sure, and I should have like way more engagement, or I should have this, or I haven't done that, whatever it may be. But that's what it boils down to, is every individual feels the same.
Yeah, totally.
We all struggle with some type of like it may be inadequacy or thinking somebody else or the grass is greener on the other side type thing, where in actuality it's a lie. It's not true. And that's why like we're all more similar than we think.
Totally. Yes. Well, dude, I cannot thank you enough for your time.
Yes, thank you.
I'm very glad that we got to sit down and do this, and that
Yes.
you gave me so much of your time, and that you came to Malibu. And
Of course, thank you so much for having me. I feel like I was just on a I hope you guys enjoyed this one because your girl, I felt like I was all over the place.
no, you weren't at all. Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. I asked some questions that kind of, but no,
But it's
not at all.
It's honestly like just how my brain goes too
Same.
sometimes. You
Again,
know?
this is all back to
It's
the
like,
whole
squirrel.
like addict. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was amazing. I think people are going to love it. This is a very, and I appreciate your vulnerability and your honesty. This is like an in-depth, I feel like behind the scenes look at you. And,
Yeah.
and that's what people really want. So
Yeah.
I know that they're going to love it. So
Thank you. Thank you.